I don't have any tooth. I'll admit it. I will brag. Those players did not just go and whip that ass for us to be like, oh, good game. No, we whipped your ass. We took $800,000. Now we're partying with it.
Yeah, who cares if you're in the Power 5 conference if you don't win it, ever? Or you don't beat any of the teams in it? Like, what's the point of that? Wouldn't you rather win the conference and say, like, hey, my team is good, than lose the conference and say, well, our conference is good?
Well, I tell you what, I got two teams that got me gassed up. It's going to be a hell of a battle. Be like two dogs fighting over a milk bun.
Look, they don't call me Tip for nothing. And my tip is, look out for the group of 5 this season. They've been taking it to the Power 5 year after year.
The only quarterbacks that ever get any love are from the Power 5. I could easily list off the top group of 5 quarterbacks I would rather have than those guys. I would be willing to bet that at least one of them is going to be in the running for the Heisman this year.
We made it, boys and girls. Week 0. We got college football this weekend. We ain't got time for a whole lot of BSing. We got football games. We got Sunbelt preview. Later on this week, we got App State head coach Sean Clark, hence the hat I'm wearing. Didn't want to wear a Georgia Southern hat with him on. Before we go any further, if you guys like what you're seeing, like what you're hearing, make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Group of 5 Guys. Like I said, we ain't got time. Everybody's fired up. We're ready to talk Week 0. We're ready to talk Sunbelt football. We got a couple voicemails. Make sure you guys hit that hotline, 615-900-4286. Not going any further. Week 0. We got a lot of Group of 5 football. 4 games, in my opinion, that are really good. Start with the first one. Big chance for a Power 5 upset to start the season. Wyoming at the Illinois Illini. Go to you, Jess. I always go to you first. Who you got?
I hate to start the podcast off on a bad note, but Wyoming they're not the same team as last year. I'm going to say Illinois takes this one. I'm sorry. I love Wyoming, but I think Illinois is going to get the W.
And Wyoming's 10-point dogs on that, by the way, according to Vegas, ESPN right there. So, Tip, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the swag bear. I think Wyoming just lost too many starters from last year's team. They got a new quarterback coming in, new skill guys on offense. It might take a few weeks to gel. Their defense last year at least struggled against the run, and that's one of the strengths of Illinois. So I got Illinois winning this game.
Zeke?
Yeah, I've got Illinois.
Murph?
Yeah, I'm going Illinois too. It's too much to replace for Wyoming. It's going to be a tough one.
Me too. Not a good start, guys.
I know. I mean, a horrible game to start off with. Hey,
well, I wanted to get it out.
It'll get better.
Everything else is good. Yeah, because next up, we got a chance. I think we got a real chance here. Vanderbilt Commodores flying across the country, over the Pacific Ocean, to Hawaii to play the Rainbow Warriors. Jesse, who you got?
they struggle traveling just down the road in the SEC, so I don't think they're going to fly across the country and beat Hawaii. Upset on the radar. I got Hawaii taking the W.
Tip.
Well, if this was
here comes the statistician here. He's
if this was the Hawaii team from last year, I would say Hawaii would win this game. But they only have 5 returning starters. They have scheme changes on both sides of the ball. They got a new quarterback this year. Kind of the same thing with Wyoming. It could result in a slow start to the season. And Vandy's favored by 6.5. I think it will be a really close, low-scoring game, but I got Vandy winning.
You know what's some bullshit? I'm going to say, you go to me first every time, and then I hear Tipton give a good,
that's why I do it.
Summary of it. And now I want to change my pick because I forgot about the 5 starters coming back. But I will say this. I ain't going to change my pick, but if you're a betting man, I do think that Hawaii will cover the spread.
Take the plus 6.5, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So according to ESPN's matchup predictor, Hawaii's got 72% chance to win. But they're
sticking with a pick.
6.5 point.
God bless.
Zeke, what do you think? Murph, I think we lost Zeke there. Murph, what do you think? Vandy at Hawaii.
Timmy Chang is going to have the Rainbow Warriors ready to rock and roll, baby. They got to fly out to Hawaii. They're going to take him down. Sorry, Sam Lloyd. It's my cousin. He's a big Vandy fan. But Hawaii, Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Timmy Chang, they're going to be playing in the new stadium, new athletic facility or whatever it is. I think it's the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex. I like Hawaii, man. I really do. I think that's a tough one to travel for, especially with Vandy probably looking ahead to what they've got in conference coming up. Speaking of in conference, two really big Conference USA games. One down in Boca Raton, Charlotte at FAU. FAU's a touchdown favorite in this game. And I gotta tell you, based on our Conference USA preview we did, this game could set the tone for both of these schools, and their seasons could go either way. Start with you, Jess.
I'm gonna follow my heart with this one. I think FAU's a little overrated. I'm gonna take Charlotte straight up with a win.
Tip.
I got FAU in this one. Charlotte's defense should improve with new defensive coordinator Greg Brown, but new FAU offensive coordinator Brent Darren's about to light up the scoreboard against them. And Charlotte's offense, we know they can score a lot of points too. So I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would take the over. But I think, high-scoring game. I got FAU at home.
Go to you, Murph.
Charlotte 49ers, baby. Chris Reynolds, Grant Dubose, they're going to have a day. They take FAU down.
Yeah, I typically have a heart for the South Florida teams. I like Charlotte though. I do think shootout. I'm just not a big believer in N'Kosi Perry. I think he'll have a couple turnovers, and that'll give Charlotte the win on that game. A great start for Charlotte in Conference USA, and then FAU's going to have to battle back. Probably most underrated game, week 0, but potentially the best game. Vegas has this even. Two teams in Texas, two teams that, one had a really surprising good year last year, and one they were my dark horse in North Texas. But you got North Texas going to El Paso at UTEP. No line on this. Jess, what do you think?
If we go back to our Conference USA show, this was two of my favorite teams, actually. Just because it's at UTEP, I love North Texas. I think North Texas is going to have a phenomenal year. They will start with a loss. I have UTEP coming out on top in this game.
Tip.
I'm right there with the Swag Bear. I got UTEP, and the line I saw, North Texas was favored by 1. So, it's basically a pick 'em. But I agree with Swag Bear. I think North Texas definitely improving, and they're on the up this season. They're going to have a good season, but they got a new quarterback and a new system playing against a good UTEP defense. Plus, UTEP's quarterback, Gavin Hardison, is back this season, so give me UTEP at home.
Murph, what do you think?
UTEP at home. I'm not sold on North Texas yet. I got to see the quarterbacks play. I think UTEP's going to be fired up for the opener at home, and I think Gavin Hardison has a big game.
I'm going against the grain here. I like North Texas. I picked them to go to the conference championship game, so I think this is one they got to win. So those are the 4, up for debate games, and then all the other ones in week 0, we're consensus on taking the favorites in those games for the group of 5. So we got, like I said, we got several voicemails. Somebody finally pulls the trigger, mans up, and calls out the Swag Bear. Looking forward to hearing that one. We got a couple other ones. You guys, again, make sure you hit that hotline, 615-900-4286. Would love to hear some week 1 trash talk on this show. But, Jeff, go ahead and hit it when you got them.
Yeah, so we had 3 different callers this week. We appreciate your calls, and 2 of them ran a little long, so each voicemail is limited to 3 minutes. So if you can get it in 3 minutes, great. If you can't, no big deal. We'll play them both. But we just want to let you guys know that. So let's go to the first one.
Most people can get it in 3 minutes.
I was thinking the same thing.
That's what she said.
Hey, what's going on, Group of 5 guys? My name's Mike, big fan. Keep up the great work. Just wanted to leave you guys a quick voicemail with some G5 bets that I locked in, and then, get your thoughts on them. I got 1 future and then 2 week 0 plays for you guys. The future play is Old Dominion over 4.5 wins on the season. I think this is a team that turned a corner midway through the season last year. They started really slow, but I think that makes sense considering they didn't play at all in 2020 and had a new head coach. But then after starting 1-6, instead of throwing in the towel, they rattled off 5 straight must-win games to get to a bowl and got to that bowl. And the offense kind of really went nuts during that stretch. They averaged 36 points per game, highlighted by stud receiver Ollie Jennings III, who actually caught 46 balls for 855 yards in his last 7 games on the year. And they bring just about everyone back. They're 14th in the nation in returning production this year and 2nd in the nation in offensive returning production. And it was the offense that really spearheaded that run of theirs. I know they're moving from CUSA to the Sun Belt, and that should be a step up in competition. But I think they're going to be able to carry that momentum for the end of 2021 and would be fired up about the move to the Sun Belt and get some geographic rivalry games going in the new conference. So I look for them to have another bowl season, so give me the Monarchs over 4.5 wins. Onto the Week 0 plays this Saturday. Season can't get here soon enough. I jumped on New Mexico State plus 12.5 at home against Nevada. The line's down to about 9 now, but I still like it at that number. You guys know Nevada's roster was gutted this offseason with Coach Norvell going to Colorado State. Took a ton of his guys with him via the transfer portal, and then even after that, the news got worse. Nevada, during camp, they lost 2 key players for the year, a 4-year O-line starter and a starting safety. They're down to just 1 returning starter on offense now and 3 on defense. The roster's just really bare, and I also think they're going to play at a slower pace with this roster under Coach Wilson than the pace they played at under Coach Norvell, which is going to limit possessions and make it harder to pull away and cover a big number. New Mexico State, they should be pretty fired up. They're at home. They got a new head coach, Jerry Kill. He's another guy who's going to want to run the ball, and he's going to want to chew clock. So it's going to be a low possession game. And in a low possession game, I don't think Nevada has a to pull away and win by double digits. So give me the Aggies to cover the plus 12.5. Last play for Week 0 is UTEP at even money to win at home versus North Texas. Starting off with the conference game right off the bat. UNT lost their entire defensive line, highlighted by the Murphy brothers, a couple of studs transferring to UCLA. And I think UTEP has the roster to exploit that a little bit. They've got a pretty strong line and a 2-headed rushing attack that I think will enable them to wear down this new UNT D line, the hot El Paso Heat.
Here's part 2.
Hey, G5 guys, Mike again. Your voicemail cut me off there, so I guess I'm talking too much, but let me finish up with my last play, and if I'm rambling too much, you don't have to use it. Last play for Week 0 is UTEP at even money at home versus North Texas. UNT lost their entire D-line, highlighted by the Murphy brothers, a couple of studs, transferring to UCLA. I think UTEP has the roster to exploit that. They got a pretty strong O-line and a 2-headed rushing attack, and I think that's going to enable them to wear down the UNT D-line and the hot El Paso Heat. If the Mean Green do, stack the box to try to neutralize that, Kevin Hardison, he's a veteran quarterback. I think he's experienced enough that he should be able to take advantage of that. On the other side of the ball, you guys saw it. UNT switched to more of a running team last year when they made their late run at a bowl. But I really like UTEP's D-line this year. It's one of the best in the conference. So I think they're going to be able to neutralize that rushing attack and force UNT to the air. Austin Aune, he threw as many interceptions as TDs last year, so I don't have a ton of confidence in him. So I like the Miners to be able to pull away in the second half in front of a big home crowd, and what should be a really good USA game to start the season. So please let me know what you guys think. If you want, please follow me on Twitter at Mikey Lobets. That's MikeYLOBETS, or on MikeyLobets.com if you want to see all my plays. Keep up the great work, guys. I'm a big fan, and let's go Blue Raiders. Thanks. Have a good one.
Mikey Lobets, man. Appreciate it.
Fantastic voicemail. Loved all of his takes. But I'm going to be a critic here. Even though I did say UTEP will beat North Texas, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think UTEP's just going to go in their defense is going to just handle North Texas. I think that they're going to be throwing the ball like crazy on UTEP. He's talking about the quarterback throwing as many interceptions last year as did touchdowns. That North Texas offense this year, look out for it. I think they are going to be getting a lot of points. UTEP scores more points. But
yeah, good. A lot of good info. I love the Old Dominion take. I think with their tight end, with Kuntz and Ollie Jennings, they might have the best receiving core in the conference. I know we'll get to those picks later, but I love that one. I mean, 2 minutes ago I just picked North Texas over UTEP, so I can't, in good conscience, agree with that. But Yeah, good takes.
All right, let's get to the next one.
What's happening, fellas? It's Baker Loy. It's Sunday afternoon here. Appreciate you guys setting up the hotline here. I wanted to reach out with a couple of things here, maybe some big shots. First of all, non-football related. Swag Bear, got to come at you and ask you real quick. You've been creating all these like Miller Mondays, all these different days. You know, I've heard a couple others thrown around. Like, give me your like day of the week ratio comparison, whatever you want to call it, to alcohol for each day of the week. I did one that I think might be on par with you for your late twist over to seltzers. I'm thinking seltzer Sunday, Miller Monday, Truly Tuesday, White Claw Wednesday, Topo Chico Thursday, Fireball Friday, and Smirnoff Saturdays, because Saturdays are for the boys and the boys take shots. But, hey, you tell me what you're thinking there. I want to hear it for sure. But, hey, listen, other than that, I'm an App State fan, love the Sun Belt, so obviously I'm hyped for this week's show. But listen, I got to take a cheap shot real quick at Coastal. Louisiana fans and App fans have some beef with Coastal because we don't respect Coastal. We feel that we've been at the top of the conference here lately, and we're not just going to hand that over to someone that doesn't deserve it. And let me tell you why Coastal doesn't deserve it, in my opinion. Coastal had a big year in 2020, but obviously we all know what 2020 was. And, you know, a lot of these teams didn't have the ability to have a full year, a full off season of practice and whatnot. But let's look at them last year, because last year was a year where they were still pretty good, and it wasn't the COVID year. But who they really beat? Because, I mean, you look at their schedule, man, they did not beat a bowl-eligible team in the regular season. And, yeah, they beat Northern Illinois in the Cure Bowl, but, like, come on, man. Northern Illinois traveled over 1,200 miles to Orlando, and Coastal only had to travel 500 miles. Come on, like, and I mean, you're in the heat down in Orlando, which is Coastal's environment. Northern Illinois is not used to that. So, like, that's a whole different ballgame. And now you tell me they're going to be good this year in a year where they lose Silas Kelly, Teddy Gallagher, Isaiah Likely, Javon Hiley, and you've got a kind of a beat-up Grayson McCall. You know, he hasn't necessarily been able to stay healthy. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he picks up Pinckney at wide receiver, the transfer from Georgia State, but, like, is he really going to be able to do it all himself? Is he even going to be able to stay healthy? Like, I think Coastal's overhyped, and, I mean, I hear the hype, but, like, they've never really shown that they can do anything versus relevant teams. What's up, fellas? This is Baker Loy again. I got cut off on my high horse. Didn't realize there was a time limit, so I'll keep it shorter this time. All I'm going to say to finish that last statement is Coastal's got to play 6 teams this year that were bowl eligible last year. And last year they only played 2 in the regular season. And like I said, they didn't beat any of them. So let's see how they do this year. Some other things I want to see you guys talk about, Sunbelt related. Who's the real deal between ODU, Southern Miss, JMU? Because those are teams people say that they think they're continuing to improve. JMU is obviously a wild card. So who's going to come out of those guys? Is Texas State legit with Wayne Hatcher? What's the deal with ODU after losing their offensive coordinator? Are they going to be worth a darn? You know, what if JMU actually comes out and beats MTSU or App State? Like, I'm an App State guy, but what if they win? Like, are they going to be legit? Is Marshall going to be good with Henry Colombi? Can Georgia State actually answer expectations? Is Troy going to have an offense, or is their defense legit going to guide them to be a contender? South Alabama's quarterback, is he going to be worth the darn? Or were they all dependent on Jake Bentley and that receiver last year that went to the NFL? What's the deal with them? Let me know your thoughts.
A lot to unpack there, but a lot of good points.
I especially like.
I can tell you right now to answer his question. I already had it lined up here. It's already in my notes to talk about on a Miller Monday coming up. If you really need to know, it's actually Miller Monday, Tecate Tuesday, White Claw Wednesday, Tequila Thursday, Vegas Bomb Fridays, Suck It Down Saturdays, no matter what it is. And then it's going to be Seltzer Sundays. Seltzer Sundays is going to be a day where, yeah, you lay off the beers, you lay off the whiskey, you lay off the vodka, but you'd have seltzers. You're looking after your figure, getting ready for the next week to compete. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, I like that.
It's a great take.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Is Coastal going to be the real deal, though?
I'm sure Zeke's going to get to that here shortly.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll cover a lot of that in the.
On that NIU bowl game, too, you remember there was an atrocious call on the last play of the game.
I lost my parlay on that damn game.
Yeah, that was like some refs trying to get up out of there on the last play. But
I really like that call because I'm going to talk about Troy later, but he brings up some good points because there are a lot of question marks. We talk with a lot of good teams in the Sun Belt, but even Troy, they have some question marks, right? So we'll talk about that later in the show.
All right, well, we got one more, and this might be my favorite of all of them. So let's get to it.
Bring it.
Hey, guys. This is Jock Romero 84 on Twitter. Been listening since the beginning. Been following for a long time. Just got to say I love what you guys are doing. Promoting a group of 5. Really awesome. But calling from Lafayette, Louisiana, go Cajuns. For starters, Jeff Murphy. Whenever you decide to start coaching, you let me know. I got 2 years of eligibility left. Played D3 ball a couple of years. Just the way you talk about, just group of 5 teams gets me fired up, ready to run through a wall. So whenever you're ready, you want to start that coaching career, send me a DM, dude. I'm down to play. I'll go back to school. I'll find something to major in. Second of all, this one goes out to the Swag Bear. I think it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is, sir. Maybe y'all come to Lafayette, Louisiana, because I know y'all are coming. Can't pass up a good tailgate with the Cajuns. Bring your pickleball gear. It's time for you to put your money where your mouth is. I'm going to show you how it's done. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Zeke, crawfish on top. Go Cajuns. I'm out.
Dude, appreciate the voicemail.
Why is it every other show I have somebody tell me put my money where my mouth is?
Because you need to put your money where your mouth is.
Running all the time.
He doesn't even know how good I am at pickleball.
I don't know who this guy is.
I will run the court away from him. I will literally beat him 11-1.
I got money
running
on
away from the court.
I got money on Jack.
It's actually 21. Sorry,
I got all my money. Slap it down on the table that he can beat you in pickleball.
I'm actually better. You give me about 9 White Claws, let me get my headband on, get my right shoulder warmed up. I'm not losing in pickleball.
Make sure you wear your knee braces.
Knee braces. We go to Louisiana. We have to remember. I have to bring my pickleball paddle just to walk around Louisiana with it.
I got my money on Jack Romero 84, baby. I think he takes you down.
He sounds like a guy that I'd have a good time with. I'm ready to rock and roll. I love the take. And you know what? Is that all the voicemails?
That's it.
Because that's a win for me. The fact that Utah State did not call and just rip me a new one, I'm fine. I'm fine. I can sleep tonight now. I've been sweating all day, worried about that I was going to get destroyed by Utah State.
I just think the timeline of last week's episode was so good because Murph was like, I can't wait for people to call the hotline and roast Jesse for a bad take. And Jesse's like, I'll probably make a really stupid take tonight with Logan Bonner gone.
In all seriousness, I am still so embarrassed on that. Logan Bonner. You know what? Logan Bonner for Heisman. I ain't going to be the biggest Utah State Aggie fan this side of the Dixie. I hope that guy kills it this year.
Well, hey, outstanding voicemails, man. Keep them coming. We want to hear it. And I love the trash talk. Call out Coastal. Call out all these other teams. Keep them coming.
Yeah, come at me, bro. Come at me.
That's what we want. And y'all keep calling out the Swag Bear for his nonsense that he pulls on this thing. But since we had a Cajun on the last caller, let's start with our Sun Belt predictions here. Let's start with the defending champs, the Cajuns. I got to tell you guys, Vegas has them at 8.5. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be really tough. Their O-line is super young. I mean, they're like sophomores across the board. You lose the head coach, Napier. He brings the whole staff with him to Florida. I mean, 7 of their 13 wins last year were by 1 score or less. Well, by 1 score, so touchdown or less. The good news is they don't play App State or Coastal, but they do play Marshall, and they do have to deal with Texas State and Troy, who will both be better in the West. Needless to say, I got them at 9 wins. I got them taking the over just because they don't got to pick Coastal or App. I mean, their O-line, was their strong suit last year. They're still going to be good. They're just young. They're going to be Terry's take last week was a really good take. It kind of sold me on them that Coach Dez has been there so long with that culture. So I think a lot of the guys that stuck around still have that kind of will to win, still ingrained in them. So I think they're still going to be good. I'm taking the over. Buying or selling, guys? Jess.
No, I'm selling on that. And they can't get really mad at us because, I feel like I was one of the biggest Louisiana fans last year. I'm not going to drag it on too much, but you bring up their schedule. I'm big on Eastern Michigan this year, and I think they're going to also take it to Louisiana. I think Troy beats them. I think Marshall beats them. So I'm going to take the under. I think that they're going to get about 7 wins.
I'm thinking they're starting 5-0, which would include that Eastern Michigan game, which that's what's going to put them over the hump, because then you just got to split some of those difficult games. But yeah, go to you, Tip.
Yeah, I have the over with Louisiana. I have them winning 9 or 10 games. They just have an easier non-conference schedule with Southeast Louisiana, a good Eastern Michigan team, but I think Louisiana just has too much talent, and then Rice. And I'm kind of with you there, Sprouse. There's some of these conference games where whether it's Troy where they got to travel to Texas State, they could lose one of those games and it could get down to maybe like 9 wins. But yeah, I got them at a 9 or 10 win team, so I got the over.
Yeah, and also they probably have the best special teams too in the conference. So look out for that to win them a game or something. Murph.
And I got them just under. I got them at 7 wins. I think their schedule is, like you guys stated, on the easier side. And I'll kind of get into my take on Texas State here in a little bit. But I think the winner of that game represents the West. That last game of the season, Texas State and Louisiana, to go to the Sun Belt Championship.
You're sort of stealing my thunder. I got a real hot take on that last week of the season. Zeke, go to you real quick.
Yeah, I love a little crawfish on top, so I've got them over 8.5.
I like it. Well,
I'm blown away. That's amazing to me.
It's just the schedule for me. I mean, I think they're going to lose quite a bit, but
I actually agree with you, Jess. I had them under.
Oh no! You were cool. We're like best friends. The other three, I cannot believe it. But again, Louisiana, they're going to listen to this. They're going to hate me for it. That's fine. Just prove me wrong. I hope so. I love Louisiana. I think they have some of the best fans in college football. So
yeah, listen, we'd love nothing more than to go to Sun Belt Championship in Lafayette, and hopefully I can drag.
They can throw tomatoes at me, throw crawfish at me,
and bring the pickleball gear.
Jesse can try boudin for the first time in his life, probably.
Oh my God!
To the east from
wow. So I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not a bad take, but my Apple Watch just went off and it took out all of what you just said for some reason. So we're talking about App State right now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Here's the deal. Sprouse gave me App State, and App State. We love App State. We're big supporters of App State. We think all about the fans. He gave me App State because I brutalized Utah State last year, so I'm kind of nervous now. If I make one bad take on this team, I'm gonna get crucified. But here's the deal: last year, 10-4, losing. Well, 2 of those losses of the 4 was to the same team, Louisiana, we just talked about, and a close loss at Miami bowl game. I think they already kind of. Coach Clark will deny it, but they were already kind of pissed off, and West Kentucky took it to them. Coach Clark, one of the best coaches in the Sun Belt, and he's got a good squad, man. They're picked to win the East. Last year, their offense finished second in Sun Belt total offense and scoring. And this year, I think the production should continue. Are there some question marks? Yes. But my main concern for them is they have a very hard schedule. And I don't think Chase Price is going to have Jeff Murphy in his ear, every week to say, hey, man, make sure you're checking down, blah, 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 because Jeff is a D3 head coach. We need to make sure that App State, their real big question mark is the receivers. They lost Corey Sutton. They lost Thomas Hennigan. They lost Malik Williams. They lost 3 legit seniors at wide receiver. Now, that being said, It's App State. I think they're going to refill those positions. I reached out to somebody at App State this week. They have the athletes. They just don't have the playing time. This year is going to be a lot for them. But what App State does have on offense, they have 4 of the returning offensive linemen. They lost the center last year, Bear Hunter. They lost Bear Hunter, but they do have left tackle Cooper Hodges. Y'all remember that guy? The guy's a monster. The guy's a fantastic offensive lineman. Those boys know how to get off the ball. They run the ball so well, and it's easy to block when you have guys such as Cameron Peoples and Nate Noel. Nate Noel, yes, you cost all of us a lot of money last year. Hell of a running back. These guys are thunder and lightning for the Sun Belt. They are going to make a lot of problems for defenses this year. So the offense, as long as, Chase Bryce, veteran quarterback, gets these receivers, they get locked in, offense should be fine. Defense, they are normally headhunters. They run that 3-4 defense. Linebackers are always huge for them at App State. They have some of their top returning tacklers coming back this year. Defensive tackle, Jordan Earl, 290-pound nose guard. He doesn't make a lot of tackles, but he is the heart of that defense. He makes 2 or 3 guys have to block him for the linebackers to make a play. All that being said, solid defense, solid offense. I think these guys are actually going to win 10 games this year. They start out North Carolina at home, which we're all going to be there, boys. I think that that's going to be a big win for them. They're going to shock North Carolina. I say shock, but we all know they should win that game. But they're going to shock the state. They're going to shock the college football world. And they're going to have it's a tough schedule. It is a tough schedule. There are games in that schedule such as, I'm going to say it, Georgia State that could sneak up on them. They have to play Coastal and Marshall back-to-back in November. That's going to determine who's going to be champions of the East, in my opinion. I think they lose one of those 2 games because it's going to be hard to go undefeated in the Sun Belt. But in summary, I'm going to go 10-3 for App State, so the over.
Take a breath, Bubba.
Zeke, you agree? You agree or what?
Yeah, I agree. I agree that App State. You did say App State over
App State
8.5, right?
Yeah,
I said 10 wins. 10 wins.
Okay. Yeah, no, I really like the way App State's schedule is set up this year. I think their most challenging games are at home for them, and I think we all know we've been to Boone. That atmosphere is to their advantage, and they're really going to need it in the schedule that they have set up. They've got North Carolina at home. They've got James Madison at home. They've got Georgia State, who could sneak up on them at home, and Troy at home. Those are all going to be tough games for them. They play Coastal away, but I like that they have the tough games at home. Old Dominion is another one. So,
yeah,
I feel good about it.
Yeah, they. I mean, that A&M game is interesting. I think they got a. I think they got a chance there. That's going to be tough on the road though at A&M. But Zeke, I want to stay with you and go to Coastal because they're the other 8-win team according to Vegas. They're at an even 8 though. So why don't you tell us how they're gonna, win 13 games, the whole deal.
So I don't know about 13 games, but I do think they win over 8. Last year, a lot of people were saying they were overrated. A lot of people were saying, including Mikey, are saying that they're overrated this year. I can understand that. They didn't meet their expectations last year. They did lose a lot of key players, Isaiah Likely, Teddy Gallagher, all those guys. But I do think they did not finish the season last year like they wanted to. And I really think Grayson McCall, this kid, I didn't realize how young this guy was, but he's a 2-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, 2020 and 2021. He's still young. He's a first-team Sun Belt, and I think the team is going to rally around him. I understand what Mikey said in the voicemail, and I think he made a lot of great points. But yeah, I do think he can do a lot and do a lot for that offense. So I think as long as they're with him, and I agree with him, as long as he can stay healthy, I think that offense is going to be high-powered, and they can rally around him. And I think Jamie Chadwell is going to get the defense and find some stops. So I feel good about him. I think 8's a lot.
I like the over with them too, just because I like their non-conference. It's not very good, so I think they win a lot of those games. Um, McCall's health though, he's got to be healthy. He's got to be ready to roll for that Coastal team, and then they're gonna have to answer some questions in a conference championship game if they make it that far. Murph, newcomer, in my opinion, under the radar newcomer, Marshall. They're at 7.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I love Marshall. I think they're always a tough team. They're always coached very well. But they lost Grant Wells. He's at Virginia Tech, so he's not walking through that door. He's been a constant for them the last couple seasons. So they got a little bit of a quarterback battle right now. Looks like Henry Colombi from Texas Tech. He's a transfer. Seems to be kind of the favorite, but as of this weekend, looking on Twitter and the internet, they have not announced the starter yet. So that's going to be interesting. And anytime I think you go into the season, especially this close, not knowing who your guys, and they could very well just have not announced it and they know who the number one is, but it seems like they've been splitting first and second team reps. So I just think that leaves a huge question mark at your leader spot. Now, running back, receivers, they're going to be outstanding. Rasheen Ali, I mean, he was a Conference USA first teamer, stud running back. He's great out of the backfield. He's coming back. You got Corey Gamage, receiver, coming back. So whoever that quarterback ends up being is going to have a very, very good receiver to throw to. And they got a transfer from Florida State receiver that's coming in too. So I think they're going to be good at the skill positions. They got to replace 3 of their offensive linemen that were starters. So, you have a quarterback battle, don't know who the guy is, and you kind of replace 3 guys up front. I think that's a lot. Their defense is going to be very good. They return a lot of guys. They got some guys coming through the transfer portal as well. I think that's going to help them out. But as far as where they were at 7.5, I got them at 7 wins. I got them right under. I think their schedule's tough. In the Sun Belt, going into the Sun Belt, we know how tough this conference is. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play. But I think 7 wins in a Sun Belt conference is incredible. So that's where I got them.
Tip, what do you think?
Yeah, I kept going back and forth with Marshall between 7 and 8 wins, and I ended up at 8 wins for them. I think they're just a very good team, and I think Ali is just an incredible running back that is going to carry this team. And being in the East Division is going to be tough. I mean, I have them losing to Coastal, App State, and then in Georgia State as well. But I think the tiebreaker game for me is that Week 4 game at Troy. I think that's going to be a very tough game because I think Troy is going to be – I know we're going to talk about it later, but I think they're going to be a sneaky good team this year, especially with how good that defense is. And with that being kind of in the early part of the season, Marshall might not have everything clicking and gelled yet. So that game right there was the deciding point for me. Actually have them winning that game, but I think that game right there decides if they're going to win 7 or 8 games this season.
Yeah, Marshall's one that they've just historically been inconsistent. Like we were at the game against App last year. They should have beat. I mean, they outplayed App most of the game last year that we were at, but then they go to Murfreesboro and Middle just smacks them. So
yeah, and the monsoon.
Yeah, that was the monsoon of Murfreesboro. Yeah,
yeah, but that game was over before it started raining too, if you remember now.
Yeah.
Anyway, stay back to you, Tip. Georgia State, probably a lot of people's dark horse team. They're at an even 7. Can they put it together?
I can see why. I mean, they coming into 2022 with a lot of momentum. They won 7 of their last 8 games to end 2021 season, and beat the crap out of Ball State in the Camellia Bowl, 51-20. And they got 15 starters coming back. They run the ball a lot on offense, and they have a good defense, which is a great combo right there for wearing down your opponent and winning a lot of ball games and a lot of close games. But if you're running the ball effectively and have a good defense that can stop the other team's offense, you're going to win a lot of ball games. Darren Granger returns as the starting quarterback. He had a little over 2,300 total yards last season, 22 total touchdowns. Their top 2 running backs are back this season. Tucker Gregg and Jameis Williams. Both of those guys combined averaged 226.4 rushing yards per game last season. And these guys both, I think they both have a chance to rush for 1,000+ yards with as much as they run the ball this year. And they got also key point to their good rushing attack. They got 4 starters returning on the O-line. Defense, returning 7 starters. They had 38 sacks last season on defense. Gave up 27.1 points per game. Could improve on that aspect a little bit. Struggled to get stops on third down. They were 9th in the Sun Belt last season in that. They got a tough non-conference schedule, and they play in that tough East Division. So with that, all that said, I actually have them at a push at 7 wins. I think their schedule is extremely tough, and their non-conference is tough. They're at South Carolina week 1, and then they have UNC at home. That could be a toss-up game, especially if I have App State beating UNC. So if UNC is coming into that game already 0-1 and kind of down as a team, they could go into Georgia State and lose that game. But they play at Army. Army's not a bad team. They run the ball a lot, but with Georgia State running the ball a lot, if they get behind early, could be tough to come back and try and come back in the game. So I got them right at 7 wins. So I got them at a push.
I love Georgia State. I like what makes them go, in my opinion, is their head coach, man. He's an O-line guy. He's a freaking nutcase on the field pregame. He's acting like a strength coach would act pregame, and he's their freaking head coach.
See the Dan Campbell of college
he's
football?
Like, dude, that's a great analogy. Biting ankles or whatever you call it. But yeah, Sean Elliott, man, he's the heartbeat of that team, and they freaking take after him. So anytime you have an O-line guy as your head coach, that's what kind of team you're going to be dealing with. Jess, you agree? I see you nodding. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, yeah. I just don't want to take too much time. Yeah, the guy's a psycho, man. And I, 10 seconds, they sold me, Georgia State. They sold me last year when I watched them play Coastal Carolina and beat them. Like that team is very physical, and I see them being very physical this year too. So they are a dark horse. They scare me when I look at other teams. When I look at Troy and when I look at App State. Every time I see Georgia State on the schedule, I'm like, I don't know. So
yeah, I'm with you. Murph, Texas State, Bobcats. A couple of us spent some time out there. We're high on them. Vegas ain't too high on them. 4.5. What you got?
It's okay. They're running under the radar. I think it's right where they want to be. And it could be, I don't know if it was something in the water down there when we were down there in San Marcos, but let me tell you. It
wasn't water. You weren't drinking water, Jeff.
I don't know what I was drinking. I got them over, and I have this team representing the West in the Sun Belt Championship.
Hot take.
And it all rides, and I'm not trying to put too pressure on this young man, but I think he can handle it. Lane Hatcher. Lane Hatcher has got to be that guy. I think it comes down to 2 things for this team. The camaraderie we witnessed down there was reminded me a lot of some teams that I've played on, and they are a family. They're together. They have the athletes on the outside on offense to go get balls. They're air raid. They're going to be throwing the piss out of the ball, which is what they couldn't do last year. They had way too many interceptions. Whenever you turn the ball over that much in air raid offense, it just kills it. Your defense is always on the field. They get tired, and that's their second key. Their defense has got to be better. I think they've shored some of that up in the transfer portal. They got some guys coming back as well. But they allowed 430 yards of offense last year and 33 points per game. If they can just cut that down by 10%, and you get some production on offense, because all the games they lost last year, most of them were within a single digit. So I think Texas State's going to have a great season. I think the West is going to come down to that last week of the season between them and Louisiana. Who wins that game will represent the West, and I think it's Texas State. Kyle Hergel's leading the charge.
Love that guy. Go ahead, Jess.
He's just sour.
No,
he
no,
didn't get to go down there and play golf and do all that. So go ahead, Jesse. Go ahead.
You done? I just want to say, I did think that. I was like, these guys went and played golf and met everybody. Thought everybody's nice. And they're like, all right, these guys are going to win the West. After doing a little homework, a little research, I don't know how good these guys are going to be. But after talking to Mr. Sprouse and hearing his confidence, he said something that kind of stuck with me. The way that the coaches feel about this team also says a lot going into next year. And their schedule is set up for them to be successful. If they can beat James Madison, if they can beat James Madison and they can beat Troy, then maybe maybe they can come out of the West. It will be one hell of a season for them. And the way y'all talk about them, the way how close they are, I mean that's what football is all about. I hope they come together, and I hope that they make a year to remember. It's gonna be hard though. The West and the Sun Belt. It's not a cakewalk, so they got to bring it every Saturday.
No, it's not. But Spav's going to have those guys ready. I mean, they're fired up down there. They got a good following, so I see them coming out.
I'm hammering that over 4.5.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think they're over 4.5. So I'll make that clear. They're over 4.5 for sure. Dude, when he said win the West, so I'm thinking, oh god.
What's crazy is they finished second in the West at 3-5 in the conference last year, and then Louisiana was 8-0. So
yeah, the West is tough.
But yeah, Texas State's one to watch for. So going into another, a lot of people like this team out of the West is Troy. Vegas likes them a little bit. They're at 6.5. Jess, go to you on them. What do you think?
I think there's a good reason why you would like Troy. After doing research for a week and going to see them play spring ball last year, a few months ago, and looking at their schedule, there's a lot of reasons to like Troy. The main reason, guys, is the guy we met, Coach Summerall. This guy comes from Kentucky. This guy is a very enthusiastic coach. I think he's going to get the best of his players. He's coming into a squad that has a lot of veterans, a lot of experience coming back. Offensive wise, you know what? Scratch that. I'm going to start with the defense first. This is going to be the best defense in the Sun Belt. These guys are dead. I'm talking about like SEC defense. These guys are going to be making tackles. They're going to be flying around. Let's look at probably the best player in the conference. And who's the best player in the conference? We're going to talk about sorry, Carlton Marshall. The guy's a beast. Oh man, Sprouse is laughing at me because I had a brain fart. Carlton Marshall, but seriously, this guy, he got 127 tackles. I'll say it again, 127 tackles last year. Defensive ends, these guys, they still have their pass rushers from last year, Javon Solomon and Bennett Jubner. 8 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. They also have interior linemen, all Sun Belt. These Will Cholo. The defense is stacked, guys, in all seriousness. These guys are going to be making plays. It's going to be hard to score on. Sprouse said it on a private conversation earlier today. They may average 12 points a game against them. It's going to be hard to score on these boys. But what's their weak point? Probably going to be their offense. They didn't do a lot last year. But MTSU Blue Raiders, Joe Craddock, offensive coordinator, coming in, trying to make things happen. He's going to be very, very heavy on the tight end, but he's going to need a quarterback. And I thought the quarterback was going to be Gunnar Watson. However, Mr. Transfer, Jarrett Doge, the guy that comes from Bowling Green to West Virginia to West Kentucky now to Troy. The guy actually is a ball player. He threw for like over 3,000 yards in West Virginia last year, but there must be some kind of personality issues. I'm not sure. Reached out to some contacts at Troy. There is still a battle for that position. Granted, he just got there. So we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. But if they can get that position secure, they have experience coming back on the offensive lineman. They got 4 returning starters. The running backs coming back. And they got a receiver, Tez Johnson. Dog. So I'm expecting these guys to win a lot of games this year. I'm expecting these guys to actually win about 8 games this year. A lot of close ones. Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss away, first game of the year. I think they lose, but it's going to be very, very close. Very, very close. So 8-4.
I love Troy, and if I may, I got a couple things on that. One, did y'all see they did like a family wall in the football facility, so they got like pictures of all the coaches and players like and their families and stuff on the wall. Never seen that done before. I don't know where Coach Summerall got that from, but you can just tell that he's just got she's got a family atmosphere there. And, I saw him and all the coaches down in Florida when they had just gotten done with that Destin meeting. And it's just like it's all like they've been family and friends forever. Only thing that worries me about Troy, I do think their defense is going to be freaking all-time great. 20 points a game probably realistically. So their offense isn't going to have to be great. But it worries me that they got a quarterback transfer in the offseason after spring. And then it worries me that they took a transfer quarterback halfway through camp, which to me that says we still ain't got a quarterback. And so it's a little scary. And then Doge, he, I guess, lost the job at Western Kentucky, so he transferred fine. But if Gunnar Watson or the kid, I think Costelli or something from Utah, was going to be the guy, I don't think that they would have been so excited to get Doge.
There has to be – I know Jeff's all about transfers, but he has transferred a lot. I didn't realize the guy.
I'm just waiting for you guys to make up your mind on this whole transfer thing, because 1 week transferring's okay. 1 week,
I think transferring one time is great, but
just
transfer Bowling Green to West Virginia to Western to Kentucky to now to Troy. Again, the kid's a baller, but I mean,
make up your mind.
Sounds like it was a situation where he was trying to go somewhere and play.
Yeah, he didn't really enjoy West Virginia. It made me. I was wondering, why did he leave West Virginia? Because he had like 6,000 yards throwing at West Virginia in the years he played there. I was like, the guy seems like he's going to be a beast. But we'll see.
Anyway, no, I do like the over on Troy. I think they're going to be a contender in the West. Go to Zeke, Old Dominion, one of the newcomers. They're at 4.5. What you got?
Old Dominion. We've had a couple comments about Old Dominion on this podcast. Who was the caller? I forgot his name. Was it Mikey talking about Old Dominion?
Mikey Lobetz.
Mikey Lobetz.
Hold on, time out. Is Lobetz his real name, or is that like
that's his Twitter handle, and he runs. That's like his website too. He's
Lobetz.
He's a capper of some kind. I don't know how successful he is. I looked at his page, but it looks pretty sharp. He puts out some picks.
I like this intel.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Zeke.
So no, Mikey had a pretty good take on Old Dominion. Look, they're not a bad football team, right? But I'm not a believer on 4.5. I think they're the under. And I say that because I believe this move to the Sun Belt, Tip and I were talking about it a minute ago. I mean, the Sun Belt is a different conference. These guys don't quit. Conference USA, you can run the table at the back half of your season and sneak into a bowl game. Yeah, we've talked about it on the Conference USA podcast. Your seasons can get top heavy and back heavy. When you run into some teams that have had some adversity, some of them lay down. They do not lay down in the Sun Belt Conference. They fight to the end. They could be 2-10, and they're coming to whoop that ass. I don't think that's the case with Old Dominion. I think Old Dominion is a talented football team, but I think that them coming into the Sun Belt, they're gonna face some adversity. They've got their quarterback coming back. They've got their running back coming back. They've got 4 returning offensive starters. They've got a lot coming. They put up some points last year, but they play Virginia Tech. They play East Carolina. They play Virginia. And then they go to Arkansas State. They get a win. And then Liberty comes to them. It may be a home game, but Liberty beats them. Then after that, they got to play Coastal, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Marshall, James Madison, App State. And they're also in the East. Out of all that, they're in the East in the Sun Belt Conference, where they got to play Troy, who we just talked about, Coastal, and App State. So I think it's going to be tough for them with their out-of-conference schedule and their first appearance in the Sun Belt, because I think the Sun Belt teams want a little Old Dominion blood.
Murph, you like Old Dominion or what? I like Old Dominion, but I talked about it earlier, so I don't want to repeat myself.
No, I do like Old Dominion. I'm kind of right on the fence at that 4, possibly 5. It's just gonna see if they can put it all together. But they got some guys coming back. We see it every year in this Sun Belt, man. I mean, can they be a team that can beat up and steal a couple wins in conference? I don't know yet. It's just going to be it's a different playing field this year with them being in the Sun Belt and especially being the East, like Zeke said. So I had them right at 4. I could see them going 5. But it's just gonna, they got to make some plays. They got to stop some people.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll go over to Tip. Another team that's was pretty poor last year, but they're supposed to be a little bit better this year. Arkansas State. Butch Jones, they're at 4.5 games. Tip, what do you think?
So with Arkansas State, I'm gonna be. I got the under with them. I think it's gonna be kind of the same thing that happened last season with them. They do have some good recruits coming in, and I think that's going to be good for them in the future. Maybe some of those guys start this year and bring some short-term success, but I think they're kind of still in rebuilding mode. They might be a year or two away from competing. On offense, starting QB from the end of last season, Lane Hatcher, and their top running back, Lincoln Perry, are now at Texas State. So the starting quarterback at the beginning of last season, James Blackman, he's going to be the starting quarterback this year. In 6 games last year, he averaged 222 passing yards per game. Their top wide receiver from last year, Corey Rucker, he transferred to South Carolina. So their top receiver this year is going to be Trevalliance Hunt. And Mr. Hunt, I apologize if I butchered your first name. He's going to be the top receiver this year. Only have one returning starter on the offensive line, and this is an O-line that gave up 48 sacks last season. So, no, not good at all. And then on defense, not much better, especially, well, at least from last year. They gave up almost 37 points a game last year. Ranked dead last in the Sun Belt against the run. They gave about 261 rushing yards per game, and they were dead last in yards per play. They were giving up 7.2 yards per play on defense.
These guys may be better because they're going to lose those players and get some new ones in here.
Well, yeah. To that point, they had major turnover at all 3 levels of the defense. And Butch has brought in a lot of guys in the transfer portal too. They're probably going to get some immediate starting time and playing time this season. But it's too tough to tell. You just don't know how well they're going to gel right off the bat. I don't know. It's hard for me to see a defense improve that much from giving up almost 39 points a game, and you got a lot of new players coming in on offense, and it's hard to have immediate success or even success over one season when you have so many new guys coming in. So I think it's going to be a repeat from last season. I think the offense can score a lot of points, but I think the defense is going to have trouble stopping teams from scoring. So I have them at the under, so 4.5. I have them at 3-9 for the 2022 season.
Give Butch another year or two, because we know that guy can recruit. It is just really hard for me to think about him without thinking of these idiotic University of Tennessee.
That's all I was laughing about. You stole
it. Sorry.
As soon as I heard Tipton say, he's got some recruits coming in, give him about a year or two, and I was like, brick by brick, baby. I was over here muted just laughing my ass off because I was like, that's exactly what the Vols said back in the day. Just brick by brick. We're just going to let them get the recruits in. We'll see how it turns out in a few years. But great take, man. I'm not laughing at your take, Tip. Obviously, everything you said was 1,000%. But it's just the Butch Jones definition.
He has been, on a serious note, recruiting that Memphis, West Tennessee area pretty good. So they should.
It's crazy. Whenever I played ball, Arkansas State was always the team that I hated playing against. So they're usually just a big, just awesome athlete.
They always had good
physical,
DNs.
real physical,
and physical, great coached, and they would always win the conference.
You remember what happened to me at Arkansas State?
Oh yeah.
Grisham, can I go to you and go to La Monroe at 2.5?
Yeah, I'll make it quick, man. Terry Bowden, great coach. Last year they went 4-8, and actually, the guys at La Monroe, you thought for a second they might make a bowl game because they were barely losing some games, and they beat Liberty. Let's not forget old Zeke Anderson. They thought cakewalk. They lost to Liberty so they beat Liberty last year. So they were close to making a bowl game, just barely losing to some certain teams. I think they barely lost to Texas State and Ark State. That being said, guys, there is not that much to talk about because their starting left tackle last year, he's going to Rutgers. They only have 2 guys coming back on the OL. Running backs are coming back, but they didn't really do much last year. And I'm not here to talk crap about Lamar Monroe. They may be an okay team, but I have to see it first. There's not really a lot of stats out there to persuade me to think these guys are going to be, over 2.5 wins. Just to be dead honest with you, defense. The only thing they got really to talk about is just their linebacking core coming back. So they're projected, I think, 2.5 wins. Looking at their schedule, which they have a pretty rough money schedule. They go to Texas and they go to Alabama, and their at home games. Their away games in the conference is some of the better teams. So I got them only winning two games this year, going 2-10. So I'm taking the under. Sorry, Terry.
I'm with you. And they lost Rich Rod. Rich Rod took that head coaching job at Jacksonville State, right?
So yeah, there's that.
Did his son go with him?
I don't know. What's his name? Rhett, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
They split time at quarterback last year, and they're now saying that Chandler Rogers looks to be the starting quarterback for Lamar Monroe. So I imagine, I don't know. I'm either he got beat out or he left to go to Jacksonville State with his dad.
He may have, yeah. I'm with you on that take, Monroe. I mean, they're just in a tough spot. Georgia Southern. Man. I do like my Skip Bayless and just take a deep sigh. I love Georgia Southern so much.
No, we all do.
And I just think it's going to be really a tough time for them to transition from that option type team into more of a pro style like Coach Helton's wanting to do. Just he's going to have to flip the roster around. The positive for him is they get Kyle Van Treese, quarterback transfer from Buffalo, who's been pretty good at Buffalo. So it's good to have a quarterback. He's got a decent running back, J.D. King. But you think about it if you're an O lineman and you go to a triple option school, you're probably a little undersized. You can move a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're wanting to run power, and you're just not. So you're going to have to flip that roster around. They have gotten some transfers. Their non-conference is pretty rough, too. They're at Nebraska. They're at UAB. And then out of the West, they're at Louisiana. So I'm not seeing 5 wins on this schedule. I mean, depending on how James Madison is, that potentially could be winnable. I think they'll beat South Alabama. I think they'll beat Ball State. I think they'll beat Morgan State. And then that's all I'm really seeing on that Georgia Southern schedule. But that's what I got on them. Hopefully we get back there, though, to Statesboro. We got rained out last year, Jess. So
yeah, it was a rainy experience. But, man, that's one of the biggest, in my opinion, group of 5 hires. I love they went out there and got Coach Helton. And I think he's going to have a great coach and staff. And why not? Not to call you Nebraska? Why not? I can see.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
UAB and Louisiana might be harder than Nebraska. So
no, I'm with you on that. And if we were talking about Troy or App State or Coastal or Georgia State, I'd probably say.
How many wins they had last year, Sprouse?
Georgia Southern, 3.
I think
3 and 9.
I think they improve. I think they get more than 3 this year, in my opinion.
I think they can get 4. Could we just, on a side note too, Troy may have made out the best in the Sun Belt because they're moving over to the West. So they get out of that tough division in the East. So good on them. But anyway, Murph, I'll go to you. South Alabama's kind of forgotten team in the Sun Belt. To me, they seem like more of a Conference USA type team. But South Alabama, they're at 5.5. Murph, what you got?
Yeah, they got a line set at 5.5. I got them at 6 wins. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think their defense is going to be sneaky top of the conference. They got a lot of guys coming back. They got a stud corner and Darrell Luter Jr., who's an all Sun Belt corner, and then they got a transfer from Ole Miss coming in to kind of seal that other side. So I think their secondary is going to be very good. They're solid up front and in the middle. Their biggest thing is they got a quarterback battle. The starter last year ended up losing his job, Desmond Trotter. He's trying to regain his spot. And then you had Toledo transfer Carter Bradley. who lost the job last year at Toledo. So he's coming in trying to win a job. So, again, anytime, you got a QB battle, you don't know who the guy is, it means, more often than not, it's not because you have two really, really good guys, right? You're trying to figure out who's the best fit, which guy kind of shows out. They got to be more productive on offense. They just didn't have it last year, whether it was running the ball or passing the ball. You saw it at times, and their defense kind of helped them out. But even with all that being said, I think they get to 6 wins. I think one of these guys does enough on offense to, score enough points, make enough things happen, and I think their defense is the key. So look out for South Alabama. I got them over at 6 wins.
I like it. Zeke, you look at South Alabama. I mean, you think they win 6 or 5.5? I guess.
Let me pull up their schedule real quick. Not sure about it. They did put up some points last year a little bit in their schedule, but they've got some.
Yeah, they're at Central Michigan, they're at UCLA, and they're home versus La Tech. It's kind of.
I think Nichols is a win. La Tech should be a win, right?
Yeah,
Arkansas State,
UCLA. I think they get Arkansas State. So who did they beat somebody last year? That was a pretty good upset. I can't remember who it was.
Their wins were Bowling Green, Southern Miss, Alcorn State, Georgia Southern, and Arkansas State last year.
I don't know. I don't know if those
we'll
would have been up.
Not.
What it back like 4 years ago? 5 years they beat Mississippi State.
Yeah. So you taking the under too, or Murph? What you took?
I had them over at 6.
You got them over at 6.
I think they're at 6. I think they knock off. I think they knock off Georgia Southern. I think they beat Old Dominion, Southern Miss, ULM. I think is a win. I mean, Nichols should be a win, and La Tech is a win.
Fair enough. Southern Miss, interesting. Southern Miss is God, they're one that you want to be good so bad.
Yeah,
all the history
I really do.
Especially for Frank.
Yeah,
but God bless. Wait, he's now going to be a junior, isn't he?
Yeah.
Frank Gore, Jr.?
Well, Tyler?
He's
tell
got
us
the
about
name.
Tip's got the line on him.
5.5, Tip. What do you got?
Yeah, so with Southern Miss last year, I mean, injuries at the quarterback position was the story of that season. They had 4 different players start under center. They had 11 different players attempt passes. And we all saw they had their most success running the Wildcat with Frank Gore Jr. back there playing quarterback.
And he was spinning it, too.
He was spinning. I loved it. They won 2 games in a row with him back there playing quarterback. So, I mean, they might just want to throw him back out there this season. You know what I'm saying? Just run that full time. But no, seriously, yeah. So, like we mentioned, Frank Gore Jr., he's back this year. Their top wide receiver, Jason Brownless, is back. Ty Keys is going to be the starting quarterback this year. They've got to score points. I mean, that's all there is to it. They only scored 17.7 points per game last year. So those numbers have to come up if they're going to win some games and be successful. On defense, I mean, not terrible as far as points per game goes. They gave up just under 28 points per game last season. Led Conference USA in red zone defense. And so, last year they were 3-9, 2-6. This was in Conference USA. I think they should be able to compete immediately like this season in the Sun Belt. But like Zeke mentioned, Sun Belt's tougher competition than Conference USA. The main question is going to be, can they score enough points on offense? So I have them. So its line was 5.5. I have them under at 4 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want Frank Gore Jr. to pan out so bad. What is that? Didn't Frank Gore?
He's not transferring. Let's talk about
he's
that.
He's not transferring.
Frank Gore Jr. is not transferring. He's not transferring. Everybody knows how talented he is. He does have the name. Whether that helps him at this point in time or hurts him.
Oh, 100% it helps him.
Yeah.
He he could enter the portal, and these idiot fans, trust me, I know them all, down in Miami would be begging for him to come to the U. The U is back. We'll hire Jimmy Johnson, hire Ed Reed, hire Ray Lewis, and Frank Gore. Oh, it's Junior? Oh, his dad's 45 years old? Anyway, he's talented. I don't know what I was going with that, Zeke. Sorry.
No, it's
But he has not transferred, and he
has not
probably has
transferred.
had
The
opportunity.
man is very talented. He's a stud. Everybody knows that he is their go-to, and the guy is not on a great football team, but yet he stays put. And then there's something to be said about that in today's era.
Yeah, that's fair. You root for guys like that, though.
Yeah.
And you root for Southern Miss because of it. But, Tip, I hate to put you on the spot again, but James Madison, I don't know. Do we not know anything about James Madison? Are they really good and everybody knows it? Are they going to be bad because they got kind of an FCS roster? But Vegas got them at 6.5, and we talked about it off air. They got them as a touchdown favorite week 1 against Middle Tennessee. So how is James Madison, the Dukes, going to be?
Yeah, so I mean, last year they were 12-2, 7-1 in their conference. In the FCS. This is obviously their first year in the FBS and in the Sun Belt Conference. Over the last 3 seasons, they've had a lot of success. They've gone 33-5 over the last 3 seasons. Interesting this year. This will kind of tell you maybe how they play this season, like mindset wise. But they're not going to be eligible for a bowl game or the Sun Belt title this year because they are a reclassifying institution. So not really sure, mindset wise how they're gonna play this year because of that. But I have them just under. I have them at 5 wins. They got to replace their quarterback Cole Johnson on offense. They brought in a transfer from Colorado State, Todd Centeo is he's projected to be the starting quarterback. They have great depth at running back. Wide receiver Chris Thornton, he's probably one of the best. He's one of the best top playmakers in the Sun Belt, I think. I mean, he's a shorter guy, runs great routes. He's quick, catches everything, super athletic. Keep an eye out for him. On defense, they're returning 5 starters this year. They had a good defense last year. Gave up 15.4 points per game. Gave up 275.2 yards per game. One of their top linebackers, DeMontre Tucker Dorsey, transferred to Texas over this summer. So that's a big loss for them on defense. But keep an eye on their defensive lineman, Isaac Ukwu. He should push for Sun Belt, all Sun Belt honors this year, I think. But it's going to be hard to tell how they're going to fare this year. I mean, Sun Belt, what we're talking about with all these teams that are coming in here. I mean, it's an extremely competitive conference, and I think they'll be competitive and they're going to win some conference games. But I just think the 6.5 line is just a little too rich for my blood. So I got them just under at 5 wins.
Yeah, I just see them being inconsistent and just not for any good reason. I just see. I feel like one week they're going to be like, oh, man, like James Madison's the real deal. And then the next week you're going to be like, okay, yeah, maybe they won't have the depth or something like that. But I like them close to that 6.5, but maybe 5 or 6.
Well, I'll get to see them week 1. That's Saturday when they play MTSU at James Madison. So +7 middle. I mean,
I like it. I don't know what it is about it.
Take the Blue Raiders.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's about JMU. I just tweeted. I said, I think in a Second Life, I attended and played at James Madison University. Just go to JMU and just go Google image it. Just look at that campus. Look at that just scenery. It looks like they have a beautiful fall, a lot of good pumpkin spice lattes. I think I'd thrive there. And I tell you what,
pumpkin now he's on lattes.
I think
JMU.
Holy
so
cow!
bougie.
People in Boone
looks
look
like a
out.
nice
Jesse's gonna be
place to
walking
go.
through your camp out holding a freaking coffee mug with a pumpkin spice latte with a pump of sugar-free, whatever the hell he put in there.
Talk about just a beautiful place to play some football.
Yep.
So, hey, just real quick, like 5 seconds each, who's playing for the championship? Who wins it? Zeke, start with you. Tip, go to you. We got to go.
All right, so
Who's playing in the
I
championship?
got Louisiana coming out of the West. I got App State coming out of the East. And your Sun Belt Conference champion this year is the App State Mountaineers.
Good take. Jesse, what do you think?
App State, they're going to have a very hard schedule. I think in November is going to determine who's going to win that east side of the conference. Somehow, some way, they're going to lose one of those two games, Marshall and Coastal, but somehow, some way, they're going to be the top on the East. In the West, I'm Troy is selling me, so I think it's going to be Troy versus App State in the conference championship, and I think App State's going to come out on top.
Murph?
I got App State versus Texas State in the Sun Belt Championship, but I do think App State wins it. I think they're so well coached. They do have a lot of returners on both sides of the ball. I just think that they are the team to beat in the Sun Belt this year.
Zeke, you ready?
I'm ready. I apologize. I had a little diabetes.
It's not funny.
But in the East, winning the East, without a doubt in my mind, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
I love it. I knew he was going to say it.
Because I'm going to say Grayson McCall, when healthy. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to quarterback play, and I think that he gets the nod over Chase Bryce and the App State Mountaineers. In the West, with a crawfish on top.
Oh, God.
The Louisiana Raging Cajuns redeem themselves and make it to the conference championship. And the Chanticleers,
I'm not sure if you redeem yourself.
prove that they are no longer underrated.
They won the championship last year. Don't you redeem yourself.
Won last
God. Someone call in and roast this guy.
I'm sorry.
Jesse's upset because everyone's calling him about him.
Wait a minute. I said, hey, no, the Chanticleers, they're calling them overrated.
You said Cajuns though, but I think you meant you meant Coastal, I believe.
I did. I apologize. I misspoke. Call in and roast me.
So you got Coastal over the Cajuns.
I got Coastal over the Cajuns.
Okay, I really, really, really want to pick Georgia State in the East. I really do. I'm not gonna. I just don't trust them just yet. I'm gonna go App State in the West. Okay, there's gonna be a 3-way tie between the Cajuns of Louisiana, the Bobcats of Texas State, and the Trojans of Troy. It's coming down to the last week of the season when Texas State hosts Louisiana, and Troy's at Arkansas State. So Texas State, Louisiana are going to play. They're going to be all fired up thinking they win the conference, and then Troy's going to go beat the hell out of Arkansas State and waltz their way into the championship game. App State over Troy, Sun Belt Championship. Book it.
Love it.
Anyway, that's all we got for you. A little long show. Sun Belt's got too many teams.
It's such a fun conference, though. Such a fun conference.
Yeah. Guys, week 0. I mean,
it's here.
We made it. We have made it through the dog days of summer. College football has begun. It's game week. Hope you boys are ready to go. I hope you've been hydrating.
It's time for me to start calling Zeke every afternoon to see what kind of parlays he's doing for Saturday.
We posted them. And then
we got
plug
big stuff coming.
Coach Clark's interview, Sprouse. We got him coming up later in the week.
Oh yeah, later in the week we're gonna have Sean Clark on here for a quick interview. Next week we got Jay Vandy, or Joff, if you will, who's an expert in this gambling world. So he'd be able to line us up for some good week 1 stuff. Oh, man, guys, we made it. I'm so excited about it. You guys make sure, if you want to get some awesome pictures, video content from our trip to Boone and some of the other places we're going to hit this week, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify for the podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Group of 5 Guys. We'll see y'all with Coach Clark later in the week. We'll see you next week. Week 1 podcast.
Pretty good.